Hey folks, good evening. Let me just check if everything is working as expected. Just give me a second, I'll be back. Let me just check if everything is working well. Then we are cool, we can just continue. Let me just check if everything is... Yeah, everything seems cool. So no major issues I can see. So yeah, I think I'm a little early or just on time. Let's wait for everyone to join in. I'll just stay here and answer a few questions in the meanwhile. So just a second, let me just adjust the lighting a little. Hey, good evening, Ayush. Thanks for joining in. Thanks everyone for joining in, actually. Let me not just wish one who just messaged here. So any questions that I could answer, I'll try to answer now while we're waiting for everyone else. Please provide practice test questions in sets. Okay, so I think we have 2 or 3 practice tests, right, on sets, if I'm not wrong. So another thing that we're doing now is we're also creating a whole subject text for whole of mathematics. I think you guys asked me in the last live session, right? Yeah, I was a little unwell. Anyway, I'll come to that. So I think you guys asked us for a subject test in mathematics. So we're just getting it ready. We'll have that for you by Saturday, right? Because there's so many topics, we just want to create a proper subject test across all of mathematics. And as far as graph theory is concerned, I've already uploaded the solutions for today's test, right? You can go to the course videos itself in your desktop app, and you'll have the access to it. I think I named it Solutions to Practice Test 1 Graph Theory. All the 15 solutions I pre-uploaded it before the live session started, just to ensure that there is no confusion. No parts, just one video, you'll have everything. So yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, we got slightly delayed for graph theory. We were supposed to finish by Monday end of day. We just finished a while ago, I believe. So sorry, I was a little unwell, so I had to take a break for a day or so. Things got delayed, but I'm back. I'm doing okay today. So so one other thing is easy, medium, hard. Okay, that's what you're saying. Okay, so another thing that we're working on right now, just wanted to mention that briefly, because some of you have asked us, how do I practice more and more? So we thought, why don't we do something from our side? So we're looking at last 25 years of GATE question papers, and actually by topic, for example, if you take graph theory, right? I think we have collected all the questions, I think from 95 or 93, something like that, right? We've collected all the question papers. We'll be sharing those documents with you, or those question papers with you. So we have all the questions collected topic wise, like graph theory, all the questions that are there. And we're also giving answers. So we're just typing in answers right now for hundreds of questions there. So we thought to help you practice more and more, especially the previous year questions, instead of every one of you going and searching for questions about graph theory and all of that, we thought we will do that work from our side. We will write all the questions, give you the question paper without answers, because we want you to struggle through that whole process. And then once you're done with solving all the questions, you can always go back to looking at the answers, right? So that's something that we're working on for graph theory, and we'll do it for all the subjects also, slowly, one by one, right? Why are your videos so short? I think our videos are actually long, not short, if I'm not wrong. I have some videos which are like 1 hour, because if I pick up a topic, I try to finish that whole topic in one video. I think it's the opposite way, right? Some of our videos are pretty long, so not short. So okay. So that's what, if you're not able to do the test before the live session, it's okay. We have seen, again, this is something that we've observed from our data. Many people are not able to finish the test before the live session. That's why in this live session also, I pre-recorded all the solutions and put it up in the course videos itself, so that you could do it tomorrow. Again, we have seen graph theory. We also got slightly delayed, to be honest with you. There is some error on our side also. So tomorrow we'll not have anything. Please take the test. The solutions are already in the course videos. I think the last video, the 18th video or the 19th video in graph theory is solutions to practice test 1. Okay, so tomorrow we are leaving it blank for everyone to finish everything in graph theory. From day after tomorrow, we'll start digital logic circuits, because all the content is already uploaded for digital logic circuits, right? So while digital logic circuits, while digital logic circuits continues, I'll keep creating content for databases parallelly, right, one by one. So since all the content for DLC is already there, we thought we'll get it started, right? So that you also don't have that 1 day lag that some of you complain about. So right now, all the content for DLC is there. While you guys go through the content for DLC, it should take us like 10 or 12 days at most, hopefully. And if you can finish it in 10 or 12 days, I'll also have some content for DB by then, right? In the meantime, on Sunday we'll give you 1 day break because we're giving you a mathematics subject test on Saturday. We want you to solve it on Sunday, and we'll give you answers, everything. Okay, so we want so that's one thing. So I hope that is good. Oh, very good question. So graph theory, right? One second. So let me talk about graph theory. Folks, to be honest with you, I have forgotten so many terminologies. To be honest with you, I remember colorings, I remember coverings, but I've forgotten domination sets. So, or dominating sets. I've forgotten some of these concepts, to be honest with you. So it is a big recap for me. Even while writing the notes, I was always frightened that I might mess up some video by using a wrong terminology. There are so many terms in graph theory. I think the only way that we can remember everything, see, to be honest with you, it was even hard for me because I wouldn't remember when I'm teaching. Again, to teach, you have to have far more command than when you're learning, right? So my suggestion to you is this. That's what I think I've mentioned this in the course videos for graph theory also. Please try and make exhaustive notes and revise these notes. For graph theory, two things are extremely important. One, terminology and definitions. Second, properties. In exams, especially in GATE exam, you don't get proofs, but having some intuition of the proof is good. Okay, again, that's why in many places I have not proved formally, rigorously everything, but I've given an intuition towards the proof. Right? That intuition is certainly helpful, right? So my suggestion for graph theory is please make notes. Try to write like everything in 3 or 4 pages or maybe 5 pages, right? And try to revise it. There is no escaping that fact, to be honest with you. So graph theory videos took me longer than normal videos because I would get confused on terminology left and right. And before, typically what I do is I write my notes and I go into the video. For graph theory, I wrote my notes, I would practice once or twice and then go into video recording. That's why it took slightly longer time also for graph theory. Because there is so much of terminology. The proofs are the easy part, the properties are easy. It's the terminology which is a nightmare, to be honest with you. And typically graph theorists get comfortable with the theory because they work with these graphs day in, day out. I mean, what we have covered is just a very short set of terminology for graph theory. There is actually a Wikipedia article called Terminology. I think this is called Glossary of Terms in Graph Theory. Wow, that's a massive set of terms in graph theory. And what we study is only a small subset of that larger set. So this is a problem for graph theory. We have to live with it. We can't run away from it. The best suggestion I have for you is make notes, quickly revise these concepts, and try to remember them from a visual, intuitive perspective. For example, I try to do that partly in the course videos. For example, matchings. Matchings basically means you connect edges such that there is no common edge. Covering, you want to cover all the vertices, right? You want a set of edges which covers all the vertices. That's what a covering is. Coloring, you know what coloring is, right? So try to keep these terms, try to relate these English terms to concepts and think about them visually. That's how I do it, to be honest with you. So yeah, graph theory is a nightmare in terms of terminology. So much. I'm terrible at remembering things. I hated chemistry as a student because there were hundreds of exceptions to remember. I loved physics and mathematics because I would derive things as I go. So I think graph theory is one such case where you have to know a lot of terminology, but properties are simple. It's a terminology which is sometimes frustrating. But one other thing that I've noticed in the previous GATE question papers, even in a practice set, one thing that we have noticed is, just a second, I hope everything, okay. So one of the things that we've seen in graph theory specifically is we have also observed that the professors who set the GATE question paper define terms very clearly so that there's nothing is ambiguous or there is no doubts for the student on what the professor is speaking about in the question paper. Anyway, so let's come back to this. I'll come back to questions in a while. So the topic here is how does a batch system work? We've seen a lot of students ask us this question, so I thought I'll clarify this. So I'll try to explain this in a let's say in a combinatorics or a counting perspective, right? So let's take each subject. Okay, so let's say this is subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's assume these are the subjects. Suppose when you joined, whatever batch number you are, let's assume you joined after these 3 subjects are over. These 3 subjects are over and then you join. So you're starting with subject 4, whatever that subject is, right? Let's assume you're starting with subject 4. Now your question is, what happens to the 3 subjects that you've not covered? Don't worry. We will come back to them. So people who started in batch 1, for them, all the subjects would have been covered. But let's assume you joined at this time. You joined at this time where this subject started. So you're worried what happens to these subjects. Don't worry. We'll finish all the 10 subjects. Let's assume there are 10 subjects in GATE. Okay. We'll finish all the 10 subjects. Then we'll cyclically start these 3 subjects again. Okay. Think of it like a cyclical ordering, right? Like that's what I said, counting, right? So we finish all these 7 subjects with you, and then we'll come back to these 3 subjects. Of course, the one question that some of you may have, again, I hope this is clear, right? That's why I thought I'll use my fingers, right? 10 subjects. Let's assume there are 10 subjects. You joined after the 3 subjects are over. You'll start with the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Once this is over, your batch will continue with subject 1, subject 2, and subject 3. Okay, so don't worry. We'll cover subject for every batch that joins us till the very end. That's our promise, right? And the reason we are doing this whole batches thing is because one of the biggest reasons for people to drop out of GATE preparation is not having a schedule. So having this batch type system automatically creates a schedule for everyone, right? So don't worry if you think don't worry, every subject for every batch will be covered thoroughly. Of course, the people who joined as first batch, right? They would finish their syllabus much faster than people who joined in, let's say, batch 4, okay, or batch 5, or batch 6, or batch 7, right? So I hope this is clear. But so the next question is, what happens to batch 1 people when you're cyclically repeating it? Suppose, for example, all the 10 subjects are over, right? We're starting with, again, the first subject. Batch 1 students, if they want to revise, they can again join that batch, right? Or we'll give you practice tests for that subject then, right? Of course, in the second iteration, so we'll iterate through these subjects cyclically till the time everyone is comfortable with every subject. Even the last batch that we have, we will ensure that you will finish every subject on time. Okay, that's very, very important. Obviously, if you join late, you have to do more content per day. If you join early, you can do less content because you've already invested that time. The total effort almost stays the same. And people who join early always have an advantage because they're willing to put in that effort earlier. Right? I hope this cyclic scheme is clear. Very, very important. Now, one question that is common here is, suppose I'm learning subject 4. What happens if there is a concept in these 3 subjects? So when I teach each of the subjects, I try to make sure that each of the subjects is independent as much as possible of other subjects. But if, for example, in graph theory, there is some counting principles, right? There is some combinatorics that we used in graph theory. So I will try to explain you the basic concept in combinatorics and derive the formulae. I don't assume that you know everything in counting. Like, for example, similarly today when I was, I think yesterday, when I was teaching about spanning trees, we covered spanning trees in data structures algorithms. I can say, oh, we've already covered it, so I don't want to cover it. No, that's not the way it works. I define what a spanning tree is. I give you examples. Everything I still do it. So that way you can treat each subject as a logical unit in itself. In the GATE exam, there will be some questions which are in the intersections of subjects. You might have a question which is in the intersection of theory of computation and graph theory. Okay, those questions, once all the subjects are over, only then you will be able to contemplate and answer those questions. Those questions which are at intersection of many subjects, that you will only be able to do after all subjects are over. And anyway, for every batch, we'll finish them as soon as we can, right? So the hope is that for the first batch, for the very first batch, we finish all the subjects by early September. That's our target right now, right? Which means the batches who come after that, again, within every batch, we'll try to finish within 10 to 15 days after that, right? So that's the plan right now. Any questions about the batch system? Just wanted to make sure. I hope everybody understood how the batch system works. If you want, I can make a video also about that. But I thought I'll just do this. Somebody's asking, when does the next batch start? So the next batch starts from day after tomorrow, where we'll be starting with digital logic circuits. The next subject is digital logic circuits. I think somebody also call it digital logic and design. So in some universities, it's called DLD. Some universities, it's called digital logic circuits. All the videos are already up. We've already finished the video content for it. And yeah, while that subject is being done, I'll also create more content for databases because I've already started writing notes for databases right away. Okay. So DLD, somebody is asking how many days will DLD take? We believe that it should be finished in 10 to maximum 12 days. Maybe let's take 12 days. Okay. So again, we'll have a Sunday off in between because we want you to take the subject test for mathematics, right? I hope that is clear. Again, DLD is not a trivial subject. So again, one of the other things is DLD is something that you probably studied in your second year, first semester, you've forgotten it. So it might take slightly more time and effort, but DLD is very logical. That's the best part about DLD. It's super logical, right? So it should be easier for you to, because it should be easier for you because the subject is easy to start with, but it might take more time because you've studied it much earlier than other subjects like DB or CN or CD or TOC. Okay, so I hope how the system works is clear enough. Okay, so making short notes for GATE is super duper helpful. Okay, trust me. Actually, I'll tell you how I am making notes nowadays, because I want to keep revising these concepts as I have to do more and more practice questions as we go forward. So my suggestion is this. Again, this is how I've always done it. I write slightly detailed notes with summaries and proofs, right? Or anything which is deep. I try to write it in very short diagrammatic form. And everything that is important, I just highlight it with some red color or with a highlighter. So that when I go revise it, right, I can revise it very, 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 very quickly. Like whole of graph theory, right? Based on the notes that I have written myself for my own self, I think I can revise whole of graph theory in like 4 to 5 hours. Everything. Every equation, every statement, every proof, every definition, every concept. I think I can revise whole of graph theory in like 4 to 5 hours max. Okay, that's how you have to be efficient in writing the notes also. Hey, don't worry. I mean, somebody's saying you're concerned about giving practice tests. Nobody is evaluating your practice test to say, oh, you're good, you're bad. No, practice tests are for your own practice. Okay, practice tests, and as I mentioned just a while ago, right, we're also doing subject-wise or topic-wise all previous year questions from the last 25 years. We have almost done it for graph theory. So we have collected all the questions. Now the whole team is actually writing detailed answers for each of the questions, right? So our hope is by the time, just in a very short duration, for every subject, okay, so we'll start doing it. So once we finish graph theory, we'll do it for DLC also, or DLD as you call it, right? So all the previous year questions will be there, because I want to give you, or we want to give you, more and more practice questions. The best practice questions are certainly the previous year questions and the questions from textbook exercise problems. First, let's finish all the practice questions from previous year questions. So we're just collating all of them. So don't worry about it. It's perfectly okay. Take your practice test, because that tells you where you stand and what you're lacking. Okay, see, nobody's going to judge you based on your practice test. It's perfectly okay, right? But please do take those practice tests. That's why what I've been doing last couple of sessions is, I see that very few people have completed the practice test, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense, because if I do a live right now, it's not very useful for them. So that's why I recorded the solutions and put it up on the course page itself, right? So where were we? Yeah, so Mrinmoy says, yeah, in the second batch, right? So you're in second batch. So you can always join the other batches in that cyclic repetition, right? Please feel free. Okay, because that's a great way for people to revise the subjects that they've done earliest. So we are hoping that we'll do this cycle a few times, so that every batch is ready by late December. Okay, even batches that start in September, we want to finish those batches by December end. Okay, so that they get at least a month or a month and a half to practice. Of course, people who join in September, they need to do like 6 to 8 hours of content every day. That has to be like, I mean, that's like a hardcore preparation, right? Because if you start late, you have little time to prepare, and hence you have to do more and more faster. Okay, sounds good. So what is this question here? No. So Himanshu, please don't start with whatever subject you want. So we give you a schedule, right? If you go to our homepage, there is a schedule for every time duration. Please follow us on that schedule. For example, let me give you an example. Whichever subject you have done or not, day after tomorrow, we are starting DLD. So please follow us, because then you have like, today I need to finish this. Today I need to take this practice test. Today I need to take this subject test. So instead of starting randomly at some other subject, it is better you follow the schedule that we give you. Then you are with the rest of the team, right? So that's what we strongly recommend. How will you finish the large subjects like OS and CN? That's not a problem. Don't worry about it. We'll try and finish them as soon as we can. So we have some rough estimates on the effort and stuff like that. So DB is another big subject. Again, I think mathematics is the biggest of all subjects, to be honest with you. And again, we have to go with the importance of subjects in terms of marks also. That's what we've been doing. C, data structures, algorithms, most scoring, aptitude, and then, of course, engineering mathematics and discrete mathematics. So we're going in that order. Of course, DLC, since the content is ready, we thought we'll push it out. Okay. So, okay, makes sense. We're hoping we should finish all the subjects by early September, worst case mid-September, but we'll try to do it earlier than that. So how do you analyze after giving a practice test? Okay, very good question. So you get your score, right? Which all questions you got wrong, which all questions, you already get that page with which all questions are incorrect. The thing you have to look at is, once you get an incorrect question, ask yourself, why couldn't you solve that question, or what did you miss? There are 3-4 possibilities there. One, you don't know the concept. So you are completely blanked out with that question, which means you have to go back to the theory and see what you have missed. Go back to the theory and learn that and come back. Number one. Number two, you have done a silly mistake. Okay. And these are very, very common. Trust me. A lot of us do silly basic mistakes. If you've done a silly mistake, be extremely careful to make a note of the mistake you made and just try to avoid, next time you're doing the test in any subject, try to avoid those silly mistakes. Okay, that's the second thing. Third thing is, you know the answer, but because of time pressure or something, you didn't do a silly mistake, but you just ran out of time. Again, we are not timing these practice tests right now, but in the real world, you might time out also. So just keep a count on how much time you're spending to solve each question. You should ideally do 1 mark questions in 2 minutes, 2 mark questions in under 4 minutes. That's a simple rule of thumb. Okay. If somebody wants to take 2 subjects parallelly, please feel free. I mean, since there is already content for other subjects also, you can do 2 subjects parallelly, but try to follow one subject that we're doing as part of the schedule. If you have ample time, you can either practice more questions and previous year questions for that subject, or since you're doing it full time, you're dropping a year, you can always go back and come back, right? So that's important. So somebody is asking about proofs in graph theory. I intentionally had to leave it, to be honest with you. So I think for some proofs, I think for the planar graph, right, the number of faces, regions, I said the proof is using the induction on the number of edges. I also gave a little hint on how it is, but I didn't go deep. The problem here is GATE doesn't require too many proofs. This does not mean that proofs are unimportant, but if we go into proofs, graph theory itself will become a humongous subject. So we have to, again, GATE is a optimization problem that we solve, wherein we have to cover 13-14 subjects in computer science in a very short span. So we have to make trade-offs there, and we are making some trade-offs by ensuring that your loss is minimal in the exam, while your knowledge that you gain is maximal. So any proof that is not there, I think for one of the questions, I think for Cayley's formula, which is the number of trees with n labeled vertices. It's a beautiful proof, but it's slightly beyond the scope, because if I start teaching that, the proof itself will go for like 40 minutes or so, right? And nobody will ask you that proof in an examination setting. So I had to make some of those trade-offs. So for some of those, if there is anything that you want, I can certainly add some external references and stuff like that. But in the interest of time, I had to make these choices, to be honest with you, right? So that's the way GATE preparation is, unfortunately. If you were doing undergraduate level subjects like graph theory, like whole of discrete engineering mathematics is what, like 4 subjects, right? It's like some 4 subjects, right? Imagine the four semester long subjects we have completed in like what, a month or so, right? So these are trade-offs that we have to make, unfortunately. I wish we didn't have to make those trade-offs, but then your preparation will go nowhere. Then I'll be spending, again, same thing I did in data structures algorithms also. I wanted to spend more time going into algorithms, but then if I go deeper and deeper, like I wanted to show some proofs of greedy choice property, proofs of overlapping subproblem, all of those proofs I wanted to show, but then it will take forever. So we had to make these choices, to be honest with you. So note making, I strongly recommend that you spend decent amount of effort on note making, because note making, think of it like your first revision. So I told this in the last session also, right? So watch the video, then look at each of the screens, make your notes. When you're making notes, you could speak to yourself or imagine a hypothetical friend sitting next to you. Try to explain this concept. So note making, think of it like your first revision, right? And make notes which you can look at and revise quickly. And each of us have our own strategy, trust me. Each of us, the way you write notes, the way I write notes is very, very different. Okay, so please understand that note making is extremely important, because this will help you as you come closer and closer to the examination. This will help you revise concepts faster and fill in the holes that you have in understanding also faster. Okay. Hey, if there is any mistake in any concept, please do let us know. We'll correct it. I think there is one mistake in counting. We corrected it immediately. Any mistake that you see, please leave a comment in the video section. I'm not saying that I'm not error prone. I do make errors because there is so much that we teach. I'm prone to do some errors, but as soon as you detect an error anywhere in the video, do let us know. We will be extremely prompt to correct that. Okay, we have done this also. I think I forgot which topic that was. Because we saw the way we found out that the error was, a lot of people were asking the same question. Then we said, wow, something is missing here. Then the team looked at it and said, Varma, you wrote this small mistake here. I just cut that whole video, redid that video and put it back. Okay, so that's perfectly all right. Please don't worry. We are here to correct our mistakes if there is any in the content. We want the content to be as minimally, less error prone as possible. Okay. So yeah, somebody's saying I have placement, so CDS algo is a must. I understand. So in such a case, probably you want to finish CDS algo. Makes sense, because you also have placements coming around the corner. Please go ahead and finish C, data structures and algorithms, because that will also help you in your placement. So it's a conscious choice that you have to make. Okay. So somebody is asking about Wikipedia, how to read on Wikipedia. Again, Wikipedia reading is a skill that I learned over the years, because if you go to any graph theory topic, right, there is tons of stuff on it. Even if you go to any probability-based topic, there is measure theoretic approach, there is that approach, there is this approach. You have to select, because Wikipedia is like an encyclopedia, right? So if you look at, let's say, look at any graph theory concept. Okay, look at, let's say, number of, let's say, chromatic number of a graph. If you go to Wikipedia page, it will give you tons and tons and tons of properties. Most of them are not relevant to you, because that's an encyclopedia. That is something that some of those concepts on Wikipedia chromatic number are stuff that I learned in grad school. I know some concepts there which are learned during PhD, like 4-color theorem, right? So these are very, very important stuff, but they're not relevant in the context of your gate preparation. Okay, because Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, everything is there. So you have to pick and choose, right, which topic or which subtopic you're reading. Otherwise, it will become a nightmarish thing. For example, when I was making notes for graph theory, one of the biggest challenges I faced was what to teach and what not to teach from Wikipedia. Because Wikipedia is like an encyclopedia, and many of these concepts have never been asked in GATE. And most of them are actually not taught at undergraduate level. So I also went back to my textbook, which is Kenneth Rosen, and I said, okay, let's now see. And I also kept all the previous year question papers. And I said, okay, what topic should I cover? What properties should I cover? What are important? What are not important? It's a choice that we had to make. Okay. So reading from Wikipedia is non-trivial. Like even for machine learning topics sometimes, which I know quite a lot of, once in a while I come across some paragraph which is like, okay, what is this? Okay, so there is a ton of stuff on Wikipedia. So be warned that for your preparation for GATE, you may not want to do everything. So somebody says, why not start DBMS instead of DLD? 2 reasons. DLD is already ready. So we don't want you to be waiting. We want you to finish. In the meantime, I'll slowly do DBMS also. It's just a matter of 10 to 15 days. And if you want DBMS, right, as far as placements is concerned, most of DBMS stuff asked in placements is SQL related. We already have SQL uploaded in the DBMS sample videos. So you can go to DBMS sample videos. As far as placements is concerned, 90% of your placement questions in DB will be based around SQL. Okay, so please go through the SQL videos which are already uploaded as far as placements is concerned. Okay, I hope that helps. So somebody says nested comment emailing. Okay, so we'll look into it. We don't want to bombard you with emails also. I think the reason we we intentionally left these nested comments responses is because if there is a very popular comment, it will go into a lot of nesting and everybody gets bombarded with email. So we could do something like subscribe to that so that you get all emails. We'll work on that. So please give some notification when you add a new video. Again, the challenge here, the problem here is we don't want to send you 20 to 30 emails or 20 to 30 SMS. That's a big problem. And we have had some students who said, please don't send us SMS even for live session. So it's a trade-off that we have to do, to be honest with you, right? So we don't want to bugger students with tons of emails every day. Or again, that's a choice we had to make, because some people will feel that these guys are just spamming me left and right. I don't want it. I'll go back whenever I want. So what we can do is we can do some form of subscription, as I was telling you a while ago. You can subscribe, probably something like that. Whenever there's a new video, you'll get a notification. But it should be an opt-in, not a default opt-in, right? So we'll work on that. It requires some change on the code front. I'll ask the team to work on it. So there is already a video on matching, perfect matching, and so I think there is already a video, right, on the course video. Somebody's asking about matchings, perfect matchings. We even derived the number of perfect matchings for a complete graph with 2n vertices. It's a beautiful proof. Okay, so actually we asked this in one of the practice questions in combinatorics without calling it perfect matchings. The same problem we discussed. I think this topic is already covered. If there is something that you think is missing, which is very important, do let us know. We'll add it. Okay, so just go through the videos. I think there is a video called as matchings and what is it? Matchings and coverings, right? In which I discuss matchings, coverings, and a graph which has both a matching, sorry, a set which is both a matching and a covering is your perfect matching, right? I also discussed some properties of counting. Some, again, GATE gives you a lot of questions around counting. That's why we derived a lot of those counting stuff, right? Sounds good. So we will have batches. So as of now, again, this is tentative. We are planning to have batches on regular basis till about September, because beyond that, I don't think students can prepare and give their best, right? So we're planning to have batches up to September, but again, this is dynamic. Okay. So why am I not teaching DLD? Because the professor who is teaching this, he has been teaching for GATE computer science specifically, digital logic design and computer organization for almost 15 plus years. And we are also collaborating with some external folks because we believe that you need to have the diversity of exposure, right? Because my perspective is just one perspective, right? So please go through the videos for DLD, give us feedback. Again, please don't be biased towards one person, okay? Because we want you to experience multiple faculty and learn how each of them teach. And again, each of us have a different strategy. To be honest with you, each of us have a different strategy, right? And please try to learn these different strategies on how to understand concepts. Again, my teaching of DLD will be very different from what sir has taught, right? So it will be very, very different, right? And that's by design, because he has been teaching like this for 15, almost, I think, close to 20 years now at some of the best offline GATE coaching centers in India, right? I mean, and he's done a pretty good job, I feel, because I started watching these videos because I thought there's no point, again, me preparing. I started watching his videos to prepare for the practice tests, because without that I can't do practice tests, right? So please watch these videos from sir, and please give us feedback. See, we take all of our student feedback very, very seriously, right? But please don't be biased towards one person or other. Okay, that's because we don't want that single man armies, hero worship type of stuff. We want you to get exposed to multiple good teachers, right? So how do I know that subject is completed? I think if all the contents are done, right? So right now, so C is obviously done. There are practice tests, subject tests, all of that. Typically, if you have subject tests, that means the subject is over. Typically, okay. So we are still working on live sessions for DLD. We still have to work with sir, and we'll work on it. We have not yet decided how the live sessions will be conducted for DLD itself. We are still working on it. But for all practice questions, you'll certainly get solutions. Don't worry about that. So I think somebody's asking about other subjects like OS, TOC, etc. So the plan is once DLD is over, within 10 days or so, 10 maximum 12 days, we'll do DB. I think once DB is over, I think I mentioned this order, right? I forgot again. So I think after DB is over, we will do CN. Then we'll do TOC and CD in one chunk. TOC and CD is one big chunk. I think OS will be the last subject that we'll be doing. And there is CO also in between, right? So we'll do CO. Last subject will be OS. And again, don't worry about it. We will do this subjects revision again in a cyclical order. What we strongly recommend here is finish everything. Okay. Oh, would you suggest me preparing for GATE from first year itself? I don't, to be honest with you. Please don't spend from your first year preparing for GATE. Probably you should start in your third year. But in your first year, there are a couple of things that you can really learn as a computer science student. Learn programming. Be very good at programming data structures, algorithms in your BTech first year. This, again, if any BTech student comes to me, this is what I say. In first year, become a good programmer. Write lot of extensive programming. Do tons of programming. If you can do competitive programming, that's great. Do data structures, algorithms in your first year. This is very, very useful. Second year, try to pick some slightly deeper concepts, because you'll also learn topics like databases, operating systems in your second year undergrad, right? So you might want to do something like full stack development, right? Because full stack development requires you to understand databases as a backend, right? You'll also understand. So things like full stack development is something that you might want to do in your second year. So now you have the required skills to get into jobs. Third year, you say, what do you want? Do you want to go for a master's program, or do you want to get a good job? Right? If you want to get a good job, learn some advanced technology during your third year, like machine learning, IoT, whatever you want. But at the same time, keep revising the concepts from programming, because most companies, even product-based companies, will ask you questions around competitive programming, any programming language of your choice, data structures, algorithms. Broadly, that's what happens, right? And if you want to go pursue a master's, third year is a good starting point. Okay. And most importantly, if you're in your first year BTech, read your subjects that you have as part of coursework, read the standard textbooks, learn from them. Okay, that's what I did in my BTech. I studied in one of the smallest engineering colleges, and I know this because I was the first batch in my engineering college. We didn't have any lab equipment, we didn't have faculty, you name it. But I was very fortunate because I would pick up my textbook and read the whole textbook end to end. Okay, that's why even without going to a coaching institute for GATE, I could comfortably crack GATE. It's only in third year I said, okay, I'm very clear, I want to go do masters at a top university. So I said, okay, I want to prepare for GATE. I prepared for GATE in my third year, and I got a good rank. Again, fourth year, I got a terrific rank. I got lucky, and then things went well. Okay. So should I solve previous year questions before the test or after completing the test? Whenever you want, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Whenever you're comfortable, please go solve it. It's just about practice, guys. Don't be very keen on before this or after this. Do as many as possible, right? When will the first batch start for 2021? We haven't yet planned it, but most likely it will start from February 15th of 2020. The first batch for 2021 GATE will start on February 15th of 2020. That's how we have done it this year. So similar thing, we'll try to repeat it next year also. Okay, sounds good. So again, to choose the right course, your best shot is ask these questions. Again, this is a question that we get asked a lot. Whatever course, whether it's an offline course, online course, you should try out these things. Check out the sample videos or check out sample classes if you're going for an offline class. Most institutes will allow you to sit in a few sample classes. That's one. Number two, see if there is enough focus on practice or not. Because as I've been telling for the last 4 months or so, GATE is not just about learning theory. It's also about practice, 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 practice. That's why we put so much emphasis on practice. We do 2 practice tests a week, right? And we want our students to solve thousands of questions. So first thing is look at how the instructor teaches, how the instructors teach. Very important. See if you're able to understand. Sample a few videos or sample a few classes. That's a great thing to do. See how much focus is there on practice. Very, very important. The fourth important thing is, if you have a question, ask them, how is it going to be resolved? Okay, how quickly is it going to be resolved? Is it even going to be resolved in the first place or not? Okay, because you will get stuck, trust me. You will have doubts. You will not agree with an answer sometimes. You want to speak to somebody, or you want somebody to give you a deeper explanation. So look at all of these factors and decide the best course. Okay, that's what I would recommend anybody. I would do this as a student myself. If I were a student preparing for GATE, these are the 3-4 questions that I would ask. I'm able to understand what is being taught. Again, there's a fifth point I forgot to mention. Is what is being taught something that I can understand? How is the faculty or instructors? Are they covering everything? This is again another other important point. I've seen some courses or some academies or institutes which don't teach a topic in its entirety. They would skip a few concepts and they will kill you in your GATE. Okay, very important. Third is how much importance is given to practice. How quickly can you get your questions answered? Okay, so these are the 4 things that I can think of. If there is anything that I missed, please do let me know. Okay, because that's feedback for us to improve on. Okay, practice, query resolution, content. How thorough is the content? Is the content thorough to crack GATE, or is there something missing? These are some very important stuff. So somebody says, I got 96K in JEE main. Okay, I don't know what 96K in JEE main is. And I have 2 choices, either go for BT in NSIT. What is BT? I don't know what BT is, but NSIT is a decent college. Actually, we went to NSIT for placements. So NSIT is a pretty decent college. Or CS in some other smaller college. What would you suggest? So honestly, I don't know about JEE main much, but I don't know what BT also means here. So if you could elaborate, I'll try to. Biotech. See, again, I'm not against any engineering stream, to be honest with you, but I always ask this question: how good is the job market for a graduate from biotech? Okay. Again, I'm not an expert in biotech, so you will have to do that research yourself. If the job market for biotech companies in India is good, why not? NSIT is a good institute. Also talk to people at NSIT and see how the placements are, right? Again, it's a hard decision. Trust me. It's a very hard decision, right? Because you're stuck between 2 institutes, one very popular bad degree versus another very good degree that you want, but a smaller college. It's a tough choice, but talk to these people, talk to the current students, or talk to people who have graduated, talk to faculty, try to get some placement numbers, real numbers, not some jugad numbers. Okay. If you're interested in placements, if you're interested in pursuing a master's, see how many students are going for masters. All these things you should take into account. Again, I'm not an expert in JEE. Again, I don't know anything much about undergraduate level entrance exams. So to be honest, you should talk to somebody who's much more well-known, who knows this topic, not just well-known, who knows this topic in much more depth than I do. Sorry for that. Apart from GATE and IIIT entrance, which other exams can we give after your preparation? Let me think. I think some PSUs and companies and institutions like BARC also conduct exams. So those are some other exams that you could take. Okay, so starting the course from June 20, that's okay. Actually, June is the time when most people start their preparation. To be honest with you, if you are willing to spend 6 months solid effort on GATE, you can crack GATE. To be honest with you, but effort has to be solid. You can't say, okay, okay, yaar, I'll watch this video for a while and then I'll skip this exam. No, you have to be super disciplined for 6 months. You can comfortably crack GATE. Okay, that's my suggestion. So June, July is when most students decide to actually start preparing for GATE. Okay, so don't worry about it. Yeah, October end is decent. To be honest with you, October end is also decent. If you can finish your GATE syllabus by October end, then you'll have November, December, Jan, 3 months, right? 3 months, you have to do tagda practice, like tons and tons of, you should do like every day some 50 questions, 60 questions practice, right? Then you're good. Because you have roughly 100 days, right? If you finish by October end, you have 100 days, right? 100 days is what you have. Every day, if you solve 50 questions, you're doing 5,000 questions. That's a ton of practice. Okay, so that's perfectly okay, no problem. So all the previous year questions will be uploaded by August end. So we're working on it. We have just started that, to be honest with you. So what we're trying to do here is so we just started this like what, 2 days back, right? So we'll try and do it as fast as possible, but I don't want to give you a promise of August end because I'm not sure about that timeline. We might be able to do it by August end, but we're trying to do it for all the subjects, like graph theory, right? We start off with graph theory. We should do it by hopefully before Saturday, right? Then we'll start with DLC. Before you finish DLC, we'll try to upload all the questions for DLC also. So we'll try to do as fast as we can, but I don't want to promise you something that I can't deliver on. August end, I'm not sure because we have not worked out the details thoroughly. Okay, so sounds good. So how much time should I invest to solve hard previous year without looking at answer? Good question. So hard problems, don't get stuck on that question. Tackle that question. If you can't tackle it, leave it for a while. Because what happens is you should not spend 1 hour solving one problem. That's too bad because you're just wasting your energy on that. Try to sit for 10 minutes to solve a problem, maximum 15 minutes. If you're not able to solve, leave that problem. Come back to it at a little later time with a fresh mind. Okay, but don't get stuck on one problem because that will slow you down. That will also demotivate you. Try to spend 10, maximum 15 minutes. If you're not able to solve a gate question in 10 to 15 minutes, that means there is something that is lacking in your understanding. Okay, so it's better you go back and relearn instead of spending half an hour on or 1 hour solving that problem, right? Okay. So don't, somebody is talking about revision. Don't worry about first. Let's cope. Please cope with the current schedule that we have. Once we finish everything, we have ample time for revision. We'll keep coming back. And once you've learned a concept end to end, revision will be fast. Okay, but don't forget to make notes. Okay, once you, again, gate is very daunting from in terms of the syllabus there is, but don't panic. We have designed all of our schedules such that you have ample time to prepare. So don't worry about it. Just go with the flow, make all the notes. You might forget something in linear algebra, some property of matrices in linear algebra. It's okay. We will sit there down and revise again. Okay, so don't panic. So make your notes. We will revise. We will. So the schedule, once all the course content is done, is for revision, revision, practice, revision, practice, revision, practice, revision, practice. Right? So your second revision, third revision, we want all the people who are even joining now to do at least a couple of revisions before the exam starts. Okay, so that's what we're planning for right now. Okay, sounds good. So will you have a 2-year program for third-year students? We have not designed a 2-year program right now because this is the first year where we're running these batches. So we haven't planned for a 2-year course, to be honest with you. So for 2021, if you're preparing for 2021, you can follow the schedule now. You can rejoin the first batch, which will start in February 15th of 2020, right? So that's what I would recommend. We haven't planned or we haven't designed a 2-year schedule because that will be very, very hard to manage. So I think 6 months is a good schedule time, maximum 1 year. Okay. So somebody says, how do I revisit the concept if I'm not able to solve the problem? Again, if you're stuck with a problem, suppose you're stuck with a problem. The problem is about, let's pick the most recent topic, right? Something about vertex cover. Okay, so something about covering. Okay. So then you say, okay, I'm not able to solve this problem about covering and chromatic number. Go back to your notes. Read all the properties of chromatic number. Read all the properties of the vertex covers or covering, right? See if that problem could be solved if you remembered a property or if you understood a property better. That's what I mean by going back to the content. Okay, if you can't figure that out, it's okay. Look at the solution. Sometimes I don't want you to spend like days together struggling with a problem. Struggle for a while, go back to the solution, then you learn a new skill. Okay, because that struggle will teach you that, okay, this is what I was missing. Okay, this is the thought process that I'm missing. Again, problem solving is very hard to teach. Okay, it is something that you get by practice. It's a skill that you acquire. It's like what? Let me pick an example, right? It's like when kids walk. Okay, when kids walk, they learn it with practice. They fall down, they get up, right? That's problem solving is also very similar in nature, right? Okay, sounds good. So after DLD, we'll do DB. That's what I was telling you, right? After DLD, we'll do databases. And I'm already working on the databases content right now. Sounds good, folks. Okay, sounds good. So somebody asks, anyway, since we are at it, how much time should I spend on Gate every day? I would recommend if you're starting now, you should at least spend 3 hours, preferably 4. Again, it depends from person to person. There are fast learners who can do it fast. But for an average student, I would say about 3 hours a day. If you're starting now, okay, 3 hours a day is a good starting point. But as you come closer and closer to the exam, you will be able to, we want you to increase the duration or the effort from your side. So my expectation for the current students who are preparing for GATE 2020 is this. Please follow the schedule we give religiously. Please spend 3 hours every day, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Finish the content, do the practice tests. And I think, and any questions you have, please do ask us. We expect that from you. Any feedback, do let us know. We will improve slowly and steadily. And broadly speaking, if you follow this, we are fairly hopeful that you should be able to crack GATE. Okay. So what is a decent speed to see the video? Again, start with 1x. Okay. Again, my videos are slightly slow by choice. I could have taught it much, much faster, but I go at 1x. Slowly increase the speed. I know a lot of people who even watch it at 2x. But if you're not comfortable even with 1x, reduce the speed. It's dynamic. It depends on the content also. Suppose if you know very well some concepts in, let's say, probability, you might want to watch it faster. So you have to dynamically decide that from topic to topic, from concept to concept, right? Okay, sounds good. Is compulsory to leave our hobby classes for GATE preparation? No. I mean, I was preparing for GATE and doing tons of other stuff as an undergrad student. So you can do it. I mean, please don't leave your hobbies because there's stuff that you enjoy, but you'll have to make time for everything. Okay, to be honest with you, you have to make time. If you're an undergrad student, you have tons of time, folks. Come on. Whom are you kidding? Okay, you have all the time on earth to prepare. Okay, so please don't skip your hobbies. You can still enjoy your hobbies, but you have to make time for everything. Right? You have to make time for everything. Even when I'm doing this hectic GATE schedule, I still take out time to read research papers in machine learning because that's my hobby now. I mean, I don't feel it like work. It's enjoyable. I try to read at least a couple of research papers in machine learning, even amidst this crazy schedule that I have now. Okay, because that's therapeutic. I mean, that's like relieving for me, right? I just pick up my iPad, download some very interesting papers, read them before I go off to bed, and I enjoy that process. It's like reading a novel for me. It's my hobby. Reading research papers is, I can't say it's a hobby. I enjoy it thoroughly. So I still make time for it, even through this super hectic schedule of almost like 14-15 hours of working on content just for GATE alone. Okay, sounds good. So we will sit on PSU interviews as a full schedule. I don't want to cover this because it's a big process. So we'll try and do one live session on PSU specifically in the near future. Just stay tuned, just subscribe to the channel, and probably you'll get notifications, because I don't want to take up this time right now. Let's take up some specific time for PSUs and how they work in a completely dedicated session for it. Okay, sounds good. So is there something that I missed? 1 second. Is there a question that I missed? Vaibhav, I don't know. I mean, Vaibhav says you missed my question, so I don't know where it is. Now this is like it goes so fast. I can't keep track of all the questions, unfortunately. Sorry, Vaibhav. But if there's anything that I could not answer, please feel free to shoot us an email. You can just go to gate.applied course. There's an email. Please shoot an email. We'll try to get back to you with the best answer possible. Right? And please understand that in a live session like this, with the chat scroll going like tuck, 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 it's almost impossible for me to keep the eye on there, because if I focus on the questions, I can't focus on the answer that I'm giving. That happens sometimes. Okay, I keep reading the questions, and then I mess this up. So thank you, folks. Thank you very much for joining in. And please, I hope you all understood the batch system that we have. Any questions, feel free to call us or to email us. We'll try to resolve everything. And the graph theory that we just finished today, the practice test one, answers are already uploaded, just FYI. Okay, sounds good, folks. Thank you very much, and see you soon.